interested in realizing my work through my mind and my hands. I want my fingertips to be the tips of my mind. But I'm not against it. I mean, I think if it's appropriate for somebody's internal vision of what their work needs to be, and they need, we were talking about Chihuly earlier. I mean, he's one of the earlier material art makers who employs a gang of people to execute his work, but he couldn't have done that if he wasn't a master of the material himself in the first place. I don't think he could be directing those people, and what they make is not theirs. They're able to make it because he's directing them. To me, it's not unlike film. You know, it's like it changes the nature of the art. And Kashmir, I agree. I was at Elaine Henry had been in China not long before that, and we were having this discussion about it. And she was telling me, "Oh, if you wanted to make, you should go to China because then make your original and master filmmakers are there, the whole production is there, you get the cost per unit rate really down, and then you know." And I don't want to be in that business. It's not my interest personally to be in that business. But if somebody wanted to do that and mass market, but I also have a comment about that, which is when you take an object that is made by the original creator of the object, the person who had the original idea and executed it with their hands, it has an integrity of the moment of the maker of the place. And when you transfer it into a mold, it changes its nature, and it changes the way it's perceived and the way it's understood. So if you're willing to do that to make money, that's fine. But you change the nature of things.
I totally understand what you're saying. I think it makes sense. But when I was there.
Jing to Jen.
Well, there, but when the little anecdote I want to share was in Beijing, and that Pinchang who was at the central cabinet, and he said to me, "Mark, I can get a show for you anytime you want." And I said, "Oh, wonderful." And he said, "The question is, which factory, the real question is, which factory will make the work for you?" And I mean, I never forget that, because to me, it showed a tremendous cultural difference. You know, he didn't even imagine that my hands would be touching every piece. While I'll always have my own production, you know, like Joe, where my hand is intimately connected with it, I really see great potential in that. I mean, I've had some collaborative projects, and what I like is I'm not looking for a factory to reproduce what I make in my studio. I'm not looking for them to imitate or multiply or produce what I make. What interests me about this is the opportunity to create something different that I could not create that alone. And you know, like when I did that piece in it was not my studio work. It was made in a month, and it was very different from anything that I would make. And so for me, I think it's very exciting, and I would like to do more work over it. But I don't, as I said, I don't seek to reproduce my work. I seek to do something different, taking advantage of these different.
I think just because it's cast on does not mean it's industrial. There's three foundries in Dublin. I was at a foundry in Rialto area, not far from SCAD. And here, right in the middle of the neighborhood, is a foundry operating casting for artists. That's probably, it's smaller than this room, smaller than the studio. Tucked in.
So it's not so big, massive.
Right.
Okay.
And yet, it's an atelier, and they're casting. And there's three different sizes. There's one that's pretty big, Shidoni foundry on the north side of San Antonio, 15 people, 20 people live there. And it's broken down a little bit. There are people who do the chasing, somebody does the patination, and so forth. But it's not casting on an industrial scale, not at all. So I think that's kind of a different question.
Okay.
I have a kind of an anecdotal thing that is related to not scale, but the cultural issue related to mass production, well, quasi-mass production, which is in Santa Fe. There is a jewelry company, Peyote Bird, and it's in, their products are in, they make handmade jewelry, right? And their products are from middle to high end. I mean, you can get something for $50, but you can spend $10,000. And I mean, it's not $125,000 watch, but they have traditionally employed Native Americans from the Pueblos and northern Mexico. Well, a friend of mine is their production manager. He has an MFA from the University of Nebraska in Ceramics, but he's managing these Native Americans. So 2 years ago, they made a decision to move the production operation to China, to Snoop Valley. And so he went over and he figured out which factory to use. They contracted the factory. They moved on it. And one of the reasons they did it is because in the Native American culture, it's difficult to depend on their reliability production in the sense that will they show up to them?
Right.
Because in their culture, let's say Maria is working for you, and Sophia is her auntie, and Sophia says, I need my living room vacuum in the morning. And so Maria doesn't even call in. She's obligated to go to her mother's sister's house to work for her, and she doesn't show up for work. All the dominoes fall out. Yes. Boom. You know? And so they've been trying to do this and trying to make it work for them, and they finally said, we're just moving everything to China. And I can't think of any of the catalogs, but you would ask any woman, Peyote Bird, and they're in the kind of middle to high-end catalog sales, online, whatever. And when you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. I mean,
but I wanted to pop back into is that, like we were talking about the future, but in a way, this is the past because like when André Lenotre designed the gardens at Vaux and Versailles, there were zillions of people who executed his ideas. So it's I wanted to bring up that this future in a way is very historic.
Yeah, it has a legacy, it has a history.
And it's even like an architect or a great skyscraper, there's a design and then all these people to help make this vision, this singular vision into a reality. It still can be a signature, but it's different. It's different as opposed to what you're talking about, where the maker has their hands on top of every step of the process.
So more a manager than a...
the nature is different. It's not.
Yeah, I think that's what. I mean, I don't want to say it's a problem because, and I may have chosen the wrong word.
Lenotre, a manager.
Yeah.
He's
the author.
Yeah.
Well, that's the nature of architecture. Architects don't hand build it.
No, well,
generally, fairly small scale.
No, there's some exceptions. They're like that Morton Escher.
Yeah, at a smaller scale.
Right.
An architect cannot build a 70-story tower
or Versailles.
So even historically and contemporarily, the dilemma is the same.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up. That I mean, that's so often the case that everything is real. I mean, maybe not the right prototype system, but we have different tools, but we are still human beings and we do similar things.
Well, and we are going to have to...
Every art form has a diversity. When I was teaching, one of the many examples would say, okay, what about painting and what about ceramics? if you hold a match to ceramics, once the object is finished, it doesn't do it any harm whatsoever. Right? The match will expire, the ceramics will be warm, it'll be warm. Hold a match to a painting, and what does it do? It destroys it. Put a painting at the bottom of the ocean, and put a pot at the bottom of the ocean. What happens? So the attributes, the physical attributes of the material are more durable. Well, they're integrally important to the archival survival of the object.
And like in Babylonia, they have those discs. Not the discs. They have those tablets. And their literature is preserved.
So we're talking about, in a sense, do you know what an ethnographic fingerprint? It's a fingerprint.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
That's left.
and some of the attributes of ceramics will always interest artists. There is nothing that looks like glaze. You cannot mimic glaze with paint. You can mimic paint with glaze, but you can't do it the other way because it looks a certain way, or it fools the eye, or it's reflective, or it's translucent, or there are certain colors that ceramics produces that don't look like, that no other materials look exactly like.
There is an enduring allure. Absolutely. I totally agree. But one thing also about the future, I'm hoping that there will be more discourse. Like, I remember Katrina, she said something, I forget what it was, but she was saying something about bringing the type of art criticism that you have in other media into I forget how she put it, but you know, she was saying she acted like it had never been done. Of course it has been done, not enough. And that was why I like the whole material thing. You know, I think
He's driving.
I think we're starving for dialogue, and I think in the future there is the potential for more dialogue, breakdown of the barriers of prejudice. Yeah, and he's always on many levels.